We're back today to talk about the ways in which you can use narration to assess reading comprehension. So reading comprehension is the ability to understand and express the plot, setting, theme, character of a particular book or paragraph or piece of writing that you are reading or has been read to you or you're listening to on an audiobook. In school, you'll think about the book reports that you wrote as a child. That's one form of assessing reading comprehension. For kids who struggle with mechanics or have difficulty writing, maybe have a little bit of dyslexia or dysgraphia going on, that kind of assessment for reading comprehension isn't necessarily reflective of what they really comprehended. It's more reflective of their ability to master the mechanics to communicate it. So if we're going to narrow in on what we're actually measuring, and if reading comprehension, the understanding and the assimilation of these parts of the story are what we're trying to measure, then let's measure only that. Let's pull out the mechanics entirely. This is one of the brilliant parts of narration. So narration, if you remember, is when your child tells you something and you write it down word for word the way they've expressed it to you. So for reading comprehension, you would begin by priming your child and saying, we're going to read something together. I want you to listen carefully for the plot, the settings, the theme, the arc of the story, and then afterwards, I'm going to have you tell it back to me. You want to begin with something really small and that's high interest for them. Okay, so Aesop's Fables is a great place to start because they're fun, they're funny, they're engaging for kids, and they're usually only a couple of paragraphs long. That's what Charlotte Mason suggested people start with, but you can really start with anything that's high interest for your child. Read it to them, or if they're older, maybe they're reading it for themselves, and then they need to tell back or narrate to you the main plot, themes, character, setting, and elements of that story. You are going to write it down for them. Just like we talked about with using narration to teach writing, reading comprehension, it's the same thing. You write down exactly what they said back to you. And then you have to assess, did your kid get it? Did they not get it? If they did get it, fantastic. You might decide to have them copy that into their notebook as part of, or instead of a book report. If they didn't get it, no problem, because remember that learning is the forming of a relationship with an idea. And if your child didn't form the relationship that you wanted them to with that idea, that's okay. But think it through, take note of what they got and what they didn't get, and use that as a teachable moment for the next time. Encourage them to listen more carefully for those particular things. By starting small and by doing this regularly, 2 or 3 times a week, you're going to build your child's power of observation, their powers of listening, and their ability to comprehend, and then also, most importantly, express to someone else what they have learned, what they have understood from that piece of writing or from that piece of reading. And you're going to do it in a way that doesn't stress them out with the mechanics, which is super important, especially for younger kids and for kids that struggle in some way.